Two people can perform the same exact exercise and train for two completely different results. One person may lift a heavier weight for a few controlled repetitions. Another may use a lighter weight for 15 or 20 repetitions. A third person may perform the movement quickly and explosively, and someone else may perform it very slowly to improve control. They may all be using the same muscles, but they're not asking those muscles to do the same job. And because the demand is different, the adaptation will be different. That's the part many people miss. They choose exercises based on what looks familiar, what feels difficult, or what someone online told them to do. But they never stop to ask, what result is this style of training actually preparing my body for? Today, we're going to look at 5 broad qualities you can train: strength, muscle development, muscular endurance, power, and movement skill and control. Because once you understand the difference, you can stop collecting random exercises and start training for the result you actually want. Hello, everyone. I'm Ed Slonsky, the old personal trainer, and this is episode 4 of my Stop Program Hopping series. In episode 2, we explored the 3 planes of movement: forward and backward, side to side, and rotation. Then in episode 3, we looked at how muscles create and control those movements: lifting, lowering, holding, and producing force explosively. Now we're ready for the next question. What happens to your muscles when you repeatedly train them in a particular way? The simple answer is your body adapts, but it adapts specifically to the demand you place on it. Think about your body as a student. Every workout is a lesson. When you lift something heavy, you're teaching your body to produce more force. When you perform repeated movements for a long period, you're teaching it to resist fatigue. When you move explosively, you're teaching it to create force quickly. When you practice a movement slowly and carefully, you're teaching it coordination and control. Your body doesn't know what results you wanted. It only knows what you repeatedly ask it to do. That's why simple exercising isn't enough. You need to make sure the lesson matches the goal. Let's look at the different lessons you can teach it. Strength is your ability to produce force. In practical terms, it means becoming capable of moving or resisting a heavier load. Strength training commonly involves challenging resistance, fewer repetitions, deliberate technique, and enough rest between sets to perform the next effort well. But strength isn't only for competitive lifters. You use strength when you carry groceries, lift luggage, push yourself out of a chair, move furniture, climb stairs, or pick up a child or grandchild. As we get older, strength also becomes an important part of maintaining physical independence. The goal isn't necessarily to lift the heaviest weight in the gym. The goal is to build enough usable strength for the life you want to live. And remember, heavy is relative. A challenging weight for one person may be a warm-up for another. Your resistance should be challenging for you while still allowing you to maintain good technique and control. The next adaptation is muscle development, commonly called hypertrophy. That simply means increasing the size of muscle tissue. Muscle development is influenced by several variables working together: resistance, repetitions, total training volume, effort, exercise selection, technique, nutrition, recovery, and of course, consistency. This is why I don't want you chasing one so-called magical repetition range. Muscle can respond to a variety of loads when the exercise is performed with enough effort and progress appropriately. The more important question is the target muscle being challenged? Are you controlling the movement? Are you gradually progressing? And are you recovering well enough to adapt? Muscle development can improve appearance, but it also supports strength, joint stability, physical capacity, and healthy aging. So building muscle isn't only about bodybuilding. It can be part of creating a more capable body. Now, muscular endurance is your ability to repeatedly produce force or maintain an effort without fatiguing too quickly. Think about climbing several flights of stairs, hiking uphill, cycling, performing yard work, playing a long game of pickleball, or carrying something for an extended period. You may be strong enough to perform an action once, but can you repeat it when you're tired? Endurance-focused resistance training generally uses lighter or moderate resistance for more repetitions or longer working periods. The purpose isn't simply to make the exercise burn. The goal is to improve the muscle's ability to continue working. That distinction matters. Feeling a burning sensation doesn't automatically mean the training is productive. The exercise still needs to be performed with appropriate alignment, control, and purpose. Muscular endurance becomes particularly important for recreational activities in everyday life because those activities often involve repeated efforts, not one maximum lift. Now, power is the ability to produce force quickly. Strength asks, how much force can you produce? Power asks, how quickly can you produce it? Jumping, sprinting, throwing, swinging a golf club, changing directions on a tennis court, and reacting quickly when you lose your balance all require some degree of power. Power becomes especially important as we age because everyday life sometimes asks us to react quickly. Catching yourself during a stumble is not a slow motion event, but as we discussed in the previous episode, power should be earned. Before introducing fast or explosive movement, you should have a reasonable foundation of mobility, strength, balance, eccentric control, and stable movement mechanics. Speed magnifies what is already there. If you have good movement control, speed can help develop athleticism. If you lack control, adding speed may expose that weakness very quickly. So power training has value, but it must match your current readiness. Now, the fifth adaptation is one people rarely talk about: movement skill and control. Not every exercise needs to be about lifting more weight or completing more repetitions. Sometimes the goal is to move better. That may mean improving balance, coordination, joint control, range of motion, posture, deceleration, or the ability to maintain alignment during a movement. Imagine someone learning a squat. Before adding significant resistance, that person may need to learn how to control the hips, knees, ankles, and torso. That practice may not look impressive. It may not burn hundreds of calories, but it creates the foundation for everything that follows. Your nervous system is learning how to coordinate the movement, and when movement quality improves, you may be able to safely add more resistance, more repetitions, or more speed later. This is why going back to a basic exercise isn't always going backward. Sometimes it is the smartest way to move forward. At this point, you may be wondering, how many repetitions should I perform? And I know people want a clean answer: 5 repetitions for strength, 10 for muscle, 20 for endurance. But training doesn't fit into perfectly separated boxes. Those general ranges can provide direction, but they aren't laws. Your result depends on several variables working together: the amount of resistance, the number of repetitions, how close the set comes to fatigue, the total number of sets, the speed of the movement, your rest periods, your exercise technique, how often you train, your recovery, and of course, how the program progresses over time. A set of 10 repetitions can be easy, moderate, or extremely challenging, depending on the weight and the person performing it. So don't become obsessed with finding the perfect number. Instead, ask, what quality am I trying to improve? Does this load and repetition range support the goal? Can I maintain good movement quality? And am I progressing at a rate my body can tolerate? For your body to continue adapting, it needs a reason to change. This is where progressive challenge comes in. You may also hear the term progressive overload. That doesn't mean you must add more weight every time you enter the gym. Progress can take many forms. You might add a small amount of resistance, perform another repetition, improve your range of motion, use better technique, slow down the lowering phase, perform the exercise with more stability, add another set, reduce unnecessary rest, or progress to a slightly more challenging variation. Here's the principle I want you to remember. Muscles need a reason to adapt, but the challenge must progress at a rate your body can handle. Too little challenge and your progress may eventually stall. Too much challenge too quickly and fatigue, poor technique, pain, or injury may interfere with the process. Progress should stretch your ability, not overwhelm it. Let's make this practical. Imagine two athletes. One is preparing for a marathon and the other is preparing for a 100-meter sprint. Should they follow exactly the same strength program? Probably not. The marathon runner needs strength, but also muscular endurance, movement efficiency, and the ability to maintain performance over a long period. Strength training should support the running program, but not exhaust the athlete so much that it interferes with endurance training. The sprinter also needs strength, but sprinting places a much greater emphasis on force production, acceleration, and power. That athlete may benefit from heavier resistance and explosive training when properly prepared. The same muscles may be involved, but the demands are different. And because the demands are different, the training strategy should also be different. Now, most of my clients aren't marathon runners or professional sprinters. They're what I affectionately call weekend warriors. They want to play pickleball without injuring a knee, play tennis without their shoulder bothering them, improve their golf game, hike with friends, travel, play with their grandchildren, carry their own groceries, and remain independent as they get older. So let me ask you, should someone who wants to hike and play pickleball train exactly like a competitive powerlifter? Probably not. That doesn't mean heavy strength training is bad. Strength may be extremely valuable for that person, but it should serve the goal. A pickleball player may need lower body strength, lateral movement, balance, rotational control, deceleration, and muscular endurance, and enough cardiovascular fitness to remain effective throughout the game. A hiker may need leg strength, single leg stability, muscular endurance, balance on uneven surfaces, and eccentric control for walking downhill. A golfer may need rotation, hip mobility, core stability, balance, and the ability to transfer force through the entire body. The program should prepare the person for the activity, not force the person to fit a generic program. This is also why most people benefit from training more than one quality. You may want to become stronger, but still need muscular endurance. You may want to improve power, but still need movement control. You may want to build muscle, but still need balance and cardiovascular conditioning. The goal is not to pick one quality and ignore everything else. The goal is to decide which quality should receive the most attention right now. Your training priorities may also change over time. A beginner may first focus on movement quality and basic strength. Later, that person may add more endurance, then perhaps power or sport-specific work. That isn't program hopping. That's progression. Program hopping means changing direction without a clear reason. Progression means changing the program because your ability and goals have changed. Here's your homework for this episode. Look at your current workout and ask, what is the program primarily training? Strength, muscle development, muscular endurance, power, movement skill and control? Then ask the second question, does that match what I'm trying to accomplish? Maybe your goal is to hike comfortably, but every workout is designed around lifting the heaviest weight possible. Maybe you want to become stronger, but you've been doing only fast circuits with very light resistance. Maybe you want to play better tennis, but your program doesn't include lateral movement, rotation, balance, or deceleration. You may not need an entirely different program. You may simply need to adjust the emphasis. Here's the big takeaway. Your body adapts to the demands you repeatedly place on it. Train primarily for strength, and your body becomes better at producing force. Train for muscular endurance, and it becomes better at sustaining repeated effort. Train explosively, and it learns to produce force more quickly. Practice movement carefully, and it develops greater coordination and control. None of those adaptations is automatically better than the others. The right one depends on your goals, your current ability, the activities you enjoy, and what your body's prepared to handle. So before your next workout, don't ask only, is this exercise difficult? Ask, what is this exercise teaching my body to become better at? That question will tell you much more about whether the program actually fits you. Let me know in the comments what you're currently training for: strength, muscle development, endurance, power, or simply the ability to move better and remain active. In the next episode, we're going to look at why muscle matters far beyond what you can lift. Muscle affects how you move, how you age, and how your body uses energy throughout the day. That's where metabolism enters the conversation. If you'd like to examine your own starting point, my Fitness Baseline GPT is linked in the description below. It will guide you through questions about your goals, activity level, movement limitations, cardiovascular capacity, flexibility, and general exercise readiness. And if you need further assistance beginning or adjusting an exercise program, send me an email or leave me a comment. I'd be more than happy to help you get started. Remember, if you have pain, an injury, a medical condition, or concerns about beginning a new exercise program, speak with an appropriately qualified healthcare professional. My name is Ed Slonsky. I'm the old personal trainer, and I'll see you in the next video.